Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 117. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host. He wishes he had that all-black PS5 controller, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up? Speaking of all black PS5 controllers, fucking Sage linked me literally like 20 seconds. Wario64 said, hey, Xbox Ones are up, Xbox Series X's are up. So I clicked the link.
Oh, yeah?
This is all within 45 seconds I did this. I got the link.
Yeah.
I clicked it, sold out. Fucking crazy. 45 seconds. It wasn't even a minute yet.
What retailer was it?
I think it was Best Buy.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck, man.
No, it was actually the Microsoft store. Microsoft store.
Microsoft store. Okay. Their drops for some reason go quick. I really will say, like, Target for me was the one. Like, that was the best experience I had trying to get an Xbox.
Yeah, I think because
the one I
Target
ended up
has
getting
that.
one from, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Target has that multi-factor thing going on for them, so it's a little bit easier.
Well, they have the way they do it is you have to, and I mean Best Buy does this too, but Target had stock for about 20 minutes of the Xbox, and that is a good enough time frame for you to get lucky, I guess, because that's what happened to me, dude. It's like I got the thing in my cart immediately when it went up, when it went live, but then I had to like spam click checkout, to actually get it to pay. So, you need enough time for that to work in your favor, I guess. Because with Best Buy, it's never worked. Like their system, they put you in like a wait, and then you have to like wait for the button to light up, and then you can add it to your card. And even when you get it in your card, it's not necessarily going to let you go through. So it's I don't know. So hey man, I wish you luck. I hope you get one soon. Because
I wanted to get one before Mass Effect came out because I wanted to play it on the Xbox because I always play Mass Effect on the Xbox, but I'm just gonna get it for my PS5 tomorrow.
Well, I'm waiting. I don't think this is gonna happen, but I'm waiting for Microsoft to announce that it's gonna be on Game Pass tomorrow.
It's not.
It's not. I know it's not. It's not going to. But that would be pretty dope. But no, it's not. But yeah, speaking of those controllers, Montreal, did you end up picking one up? Because I did. I got the red one. There's the two new controllers for the PS5 that were announced coming out next month. Red and black, and then all black.
No, I already have two controllers that came with my bundle with my PS5, so I don't really need any more controllers. It would be a waste of money at that point.
I see. So. Okay. I only have one, and that red and black one, dude, just looks so good.
Yeah, if I had one controller, I would definitely do it for another controller, but since I already have two, it's all right. And I've been watching videos on how to customize the controllers. It's actually pretty easy, so I think I'm just going to try to invest in that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of set up right now for this generation. I mean, I got my PS5, I got my Xbox Series X, I have the Switch, and I'm kind of ready to just like go all in on this. Like, I bought this controller today, but I'm like, if Sony announces like in 3 months they got like a blue and white controller, like, bro, I'm all in. I'll probably buy that shit too. I'm just like, I don't know. I really like the DualSense's design and look aesthetically. I just think it looks beautiful as a controller. So I think the color schemes they're going to come up with could be really, really fucking cool. I mean, we all remember when it first was shown, like what the internet was playing around with it. So
yeah, I wonder when they're going to start dropping the shells for the actual PS5. Because I think that has to be the reason why they're going after these small third-party companies, because they're coming out with shell designs as well. Like I would dish out like at least $100 for a shell. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean our friend Dennison, who's been on the show before, he showed us he had like a black skin on it, like the both panels were black and
so that was actually his. I thought that was somebody he took a picture of.
Oh, I don't know. I assumed it was his. Maybe it's not. I don't know. He didn't really say. He just kind of posted that picture. So
it is actually really easy to do it. You just need time. That's it.
Okay.
Your patience. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah. So those controllers they're up for pre-order on Amazon. I don't know if they're still live. By the time you hear this, they'll probably be sold out. I don't know. I don't think the demand for controllers though at this point is crazy anymore. So if you want one, you probably can get one. I would imagine.
That's not the issue. It's the resellers. They're so bad, bro. They're so bad.
Buying up all the controllers too. Like, what do they think?
They're buying up baseball and Pokemon cards now.
Oh my
You can't
god.
find any. Target has taken them off the shelves
Really?
because because they don't have them anymore.
What?
Resellers are coming in there and they're buying them. Either they're just picking up whole shelves of worths of Pokemon cards,
Mhm.
or they're just ordering them offline. Like you can't even find booster packs anywhere. That's how bad it is right now.
What the hell, dude? Who are these people? Where do they have this money, man? Like,
So I heard I can't remember his name. The YouTube guy, Jake
yeah,
Logan
yeah, yeah.
Paul, whatever, one of
I think it
those.
is Jake Paul or Logan Ryan, Logan Paul. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess he was talking about on his YouTube video slash podcast, and yeah, now everyone's going out and buying them, and I think he talked about it on TikTok as well or something like that. So now everyone's going out and buying them. So I, at this point, man, I am really fed up. Like I don't know, like it's like we both say this like it's really iffy when you get the government involved, but there needs to be some kind of intervention, bro. Because this is getting ridiculous now.
Yeah.
It's totally getting
Well,
ridiculous.
dude, hey man, it's the free market, Montreal. This is capitalism, baby. Like you do it. This is how it works, right? This is how it's supposed to work. You know, you just collapse markets inward because you buy everything and there's nothing available, so everyone has to come to you. Like that's a strategy in capitalism, I guess. I hate it. It's really annoying. Like it like it's just like fuck, dude. So I mean, I'm kind of with you. I just don't know what do you do? Like what would the
That's exactly
government
what I said.
do?
Like,
Yeah.
what can they do? I don't know.
Like, what do you do? Shut eBay down? Shut Mercari down? Just be like, no more reselling sites. We can't resell things anymore. You can do it. You
Well,
can do
you
it.
can't do that either.
I
Yeah,
know you
you're
can't do
right.
that, right? Like that
Yeah.
wouldn't work. Like people
It
would
would have to
be.
be up to the companies to
Mhm.
themselves to kind of regulate themselves. They need to have some kind of bots or something to put in place. But I don't
Or
know.
like because you can't even do things like put price limits on certain items because that you're kind of restricting the market. You can't really do that, right? Like if somebody wants to pay a
Well,
thousand
you
dollars for
can
a
actually.
PS5, then let them pay. You know,
Well, you
like
can put a limit, a cart limit on it. So
yeah.
like you can put like this is limited to two per person to where
Mm,
bots you have to make multiple bots to buy these things, and that to make a bot is actually a hassle. So it's like
mhm,
you have to make a bot to be multiple people. Oh, and you can say two per household. Like they do that with guns. They do that with guns all the time. They say
mm,
only one per household or only two per household when
mhm.
you're ordering the gun.
Okay.
So I can't order like fucking 5 or 10 AR-15s offline.
Whole
You know,
arsenal.
yeah, a whole fucking arsenal to supply an army. I can't do
Yeah,
that shit.
yeah.
So
Your
I
people.
think they should take that approach with like these cars and these video games, like only
Mhm,
one per household. Because to be honest with you, that's all you really need is one console per household,
yeah.
realistically. You
I
know.
mean, families, I could see justifiably needing more than one, but
Well, I'm talking about like per type, right? So like,
transaction, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you
So,
could come back. Say you could come back later and get another one, at some point.
yeah, like a 24-hour waiting period. I
Yeah,
think that's
one
fine.
per drop or whatever.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're willing to like sit there and get another one, like a few weeks later, what the hell? More power to you. No problem with that, right?
exactly.
Um, you really have to stop. What I don't understand is I mean, you're kind of right. Like, how is it that there aren't cart limits already on these things? Like, what? Like, there has to be.
Because the problem is, there has to be, but I don't know. Maybe there have to be sent them to multiple PO boxes. That's the
Mm,
only thing I can think of. Like they
yeah.
have bots with different PO boxes set up, and each bot acts as a person, and then they just do that.
Hmm. And
That's the only thing I can think
they
of,
just go
and they
pick
go
them
grab
all
them.
up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but then there was that like group that had like pallets worth of PlayStation 5s, in like the fucking warehouse or something. Like, I don't know. It's the whole thing's just comical. It's gone out of control, dude.
Yeah.
So I understand. I kind of, I'm glad I have everything at this point. I don't need to. I don't need to do this anymore. I'm done. I got the Xbox. I don't need to play this fucking game anymore. So I hope all of you looking for consoles still can get them. I truly do hope that. So, Montreal, outside of trying to find an Xbox, How are you doing today, man, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Just chilling.
Just chilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Well, this isn't a slice of life podcast. It's also not a market analysis podcast.
Oh,
This is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. If you have a question for us, please send those to Twitter at The Players Take or email us at theplayerstake01@gmail.com. We have some more questions today, which we will get to at the very end of the episode, but that is our ending segment of the show. That's kind of how we wind down, is answer listener questions. So please keep those coming. We love the questions we've been getting. They're fantastic so far. So please, let's diversify a little bit, though. We've been getting questions from the same couple people. I'd love to hear some other voices out there. That'd be wonderful. So
and the same couple people. Can y'all share the podcast with like your friends? No. Share it with your friends, and have them listen to it. Force them to listen to it. Not at gunpoint. I'm not saying you should do that and suggest that, but maybe you should. But I'm not saying you should. But yeah, just share it, and because I like getting all these questions. I like different opinions, and like interacting with you guys on the timeline and everything like that.
Same, and we'd love to expand that group to more people. So, okay, Montrell, let's get started like we always do with what we've been playing. So, I feel obligated to go first.
Yes,
week.
Please go first.
Because my game list is quite the list. So, I actually need to take Apex off there. I haven't played that in a week, but so I kind of was in a funk this weekend. For whatever reason, I had the weekend available to me. I did have a lot to do on Saturday. And some things did come up Sunday too, but like I did have a lot of time to game though. But dude, for some reason, I just like didn't want to play anything. You ever get in that period of time where you feel that way? Because that's where I was, man.
Yeah, so not to cut into your game time, but yeah, that was happening to me this weekend. Obviously, I was getting my place together. I finally got together. I actually had the place for a couple of weeks already. I just didn't move into it.
Yeah.
And I had it on hold for a couple months, which just crazy. But so it's like I finally moved into my place, got all my furniture and anything like that. I did manage to buy 2 games. I have Resident Evil 8 and I have Nier Replicant. By the time I got done with everything, I realized that it's Tuesday and Mass Effect comes out on Friday. And my friends is like, one of my friends, she was like, yo, can you please play fucking Resident Evil 8 so we can talk about it? And I'm like, no. And I was like, I am going to play it, but no. And she's like, can you at least play Nier Replicant so we can talk about it? I really want to talk about it with you, blah, blah. And I'm like, no.
Wait, hold on. Can I just call out this person's thought process real quick? How is, if he says no to RE8, which is like 10 hours, why would you suddenly jump into Nier? That's like a fucking way bigger game.
Well, I'll be fair. She asked me Replicant first, and then
okay, all right, okay. That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
So I said no because I know who I am. I mean, I've been doing this podcast, listen to the podcast, and I'm like, the type of gamer I am.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a game I really want to play, obviously Mass Effect's coming out this weekend. I would drop everything and not touch those games for months. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm not gonna start these games, and then Mass Effect comes out, and then I'm not gonna touch them. So I decided not to touch them. So I've actually been in the same spot as you. We're
flaky. We're definitely flaky sometimes. I fully acknowledge this, and it frustrates everyone around me. But you know what? Like my friends want me to play Apex with them. They want me to play fucking Monster Hunter. My brothers wants me to play Neo 2 with him. And like I'm just at a certain, but it's like, guys, at a certain point, like I can't play the same games forever and ever. Okay, like I have a podcast. I also don't enjoy playing the same games forever and ever. I'm just not that person anymore. I need diversity in my game lineup. So these things fall away. But this weekend, I think I had the same thing happen that you're talking about, where I kind of just realized like Mass Effect's coming out next weekend, and I'm like, I don't want to play anything and like get to Friday and then Mass Effect's out and I'm not going to play it anymore, you know, and I'm just going to drop it. So I ended up jumping from a bunch of different games. So I started on Saturday with, I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics, which was like really the only game I was actually having fun playing, this weekend. And I got pretty far in that. I'm in chapter 3 now, midway through chapter 3, I'd say. And I'm making some good progress there. And the game's still super fun. I'm still having a lot of fun with that. But then I started playing Morrowind, and I played it for like an hour or two, and I was just like, I don't really feel like doing this right now, you know? Like I just wasn't
Yeah,
into it, you know, because that game's really slow paced.
yeah. You
When
gotta,
you first early in the game, your character moves like a fucking like you're a fat person trying to run around a countryside. Like it's just not, you know, you're not running around like Superman, you know, or the Flash or whatever. So I put that down, and then later in the day, I picked up. I decided because I had bought Castlevania, the Castlevania collection last week, Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. Everyone always tells me Symphony of the Night's so great, and then I watched the video. There was a video last week that got me like really jazzed for it. So I like turned it on and started playing it, and I played it for like 45 minutes, and I lost all my gear, and I went and fought the first boss and kind of got my ass kicked. And I don't know why, man. I just wasn't feeling it, Montrell. I wasn't feeling it. You know, the game just didn't hit me. I know it's great. I know I'm gonna like it, but in this particular moment, I wasn't really into it. You know.
yeah, the two games you described, you have to be in a certain mood to play them.
Yes.
So I get it.
Agreed. Right. So then on Sunday, you know, I went about my day, and we'll get to this in a second. I ended up binging like Invincible the whole weekend. That's kind of where I ended up landing with my entertainment. But I did end up. So I had the Xbox. I turned it on. I had all these Game Pass games downloaded, and Armello was one of them. And this was a game that came out in 2015, and it was one that I was always interested in personally. And what it is, it's like a asymmetric board game where you kind of hard to explain, man. Like there's this kingdom ruled by this guy who's a lion, and he's going crazy. He's been taken over by something called the rot, and that's what they call it, which is, you know, it's like a kind of a mind plague that makes you crazy. And there are these other races that are like vassal states. So there's wolves, rats, bears, and rabbits. And you pick one of those groups to play as, basically. And it plays out like a board game where you have these quests you have to do. You'll get rewards for them. And then there's different types of victory conditions that you can meet to beat the game. I'm not going to explain the whole game, but so basically, I went through the prologue in this, and I was really into it. And I was like, oh, this game's really, really cool. It sounds really fun. And I play through the prologue, and then I play my first game, and I'm playing it. And I'm going to be honest, man, I was excited for a minute because I was like, oh, I found a game I can play, you know, for a little while. And then I started playing it, and I played the first match, and I just played it, and I was like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. You know, ultimately it's a turn-based game, and it kind of started to feel like when I was playing it that I'm just kind of watching everyone else take their turns. Like that is the game, and you get to take a turn, obviously, but not much happens on your turn any given turn. And I don't know, it just I didn't like it that much. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It was kind of disappointing. So I ended up putting that down, and then late Sunday night, I'd say at like 11 probably, I just said fuck it and turned on Need for Speed Heat, which is on Game Pass. Because this game, I've been interested in this game since it came out. You know, everyone had described it as like it's kind of like goes back to the roots of like Underground and Underground 2. There was car customization in it, so you could like put like decals on your car and body kits and all this sort of stuff, which hasn't been in Need for Speed basically since Underground 2, I think. That was like the last game where you could actually customize the cars. And it's been such a long time. Like we as a Need for Speed fan base have just yearned for that kind of thing. So this game has that. And I started playing it, and I will be honest with you, Montreal. This game actually has grabbed me. I'm into it. I'm playing it. I was actually playing it earlier today. I'm not playing it. I haven't like committed a huge amount of time to it yet. I've probably only played 5 hours maybe. But I'm really digging it. Actually, I just got my second car earlier today, which is the Mazda RX-7, which is one of the best cars in Need for Speed Underground, the original. But it's kind of a starter car in this game, but it's way better than the first car you get. So I'm really I was really getting used to that jump in car quality, because the car goes so much faster, it turns way better. It's just so much better overall. So I haven't played a racing game like this though in forever, dude. Like years, probably. I almost wager like a decade. It's been such a long time. So it's actually really refreshing to just go into a genre that I don't really play very much, and one that I back in the day really loved. So I'm having fun with that. So I think I am going to play that. That's going to be kind of my Xbox game alongside Morrowind for the time being. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then Neo 2, I've kind of gotten addicted to it this week. I really wanted to play it this weekend, but my brother isn't available on weekends. So all I could really do was some solo stuff that I had available. I didn't want to leave him behind, so I only did a few things. But we played Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all night pretty much. And the reason I'm re-addicted to this game is because we beat the game a few weeks ago, right? And that unlocks the next difficulty, New Game Plus. The first difficulty that you unlock is actually really shitty. It's really bad. It's horrifically optimized, balanced in terms of game balance. We were just super overpowered for that difficulty. The game didn't feel like Neo anymore. It was just we were just powering through things without even being worried about ourselves. But then the second difficulty you unlocks, which is Dream of the Demon is what it's called, is actually a huge jump in difficulty, but also a huge jump in loot quality as well. So
Okay.
The game became really challenging again, but also I felt like my character was progressing as well, which wasn't happening in that first New Game Plus difficulty.
Okay.
So we're super into it right now. I frankly kind of want to play it tonight after we're done with the podcast. That's how into this I am right now, because we're actually almost done with that second difficulty. We got to the final mission last night, which then unlocks the third one, and then there's only a fourth one after that. So we're actually getting through this now. We're really deep into the end game for Neo 2. And,
Okay.
that's super exciting because the next difficulty unlocks a new gear rarity tier, some new abilities and item sets and stuff. So there's just a lot in the game. It's so deep, man. I said this a million times, but so yeah, I'm super into Neo again. It's funny, but good. I'm glad the game pulled me back in again, because the difficulty was definitely not there for a while, and now it's almost tuned the other way, where it's too difficult. Enemies are two-shotting us now. But whereas before we could kind of just stand there and take hits, it was kind of nuts actually. But we are severely under leveled for where we are though. Right now we're probably 80 levels underneath where we need to be, but we're still capable of beating the missions, so we're doing it. We're trying to push through. But yeah, I'm level 275 I think, or something like that. So we're getting through it. So it's been a lot of fun. But I've had quite a weird journey with video games in the last week since we last recorded. So
yeah, I see.
But Montrell, do you want to talk about your games, or do you want to talk about Invincible? Because I did watch that this weekend.
Yeah, we can just go straight into that. But before I go straight into that, I just bought Armello because that game looks fucking dope as shit.
Okay, well we can play that in multiplayer, so that might make it more fun.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a multiplayer game, and that's what I was thinking about. Is playing it with other people. But what did you buy it on? Did you buy it on PlayStation?
Xbox One.
Oh, Xbox. Okay, perfect. So maybe we can try that together.
Okay.
That might make it more fun, because with the AI it was a little, it wasn't super interesting. But I think with other players it's definitely probably super fun. So
we can get Snakes to buy this too, because he has an Xbox.
Hell yeah, man. Well, and no one else does, but
well, if it's on PC, then we can get Jet to buy it.
Maybe. I don't know if it's crossplay. We can look into that though.
Most
then again,
Xbox
with Xbox and
be.
PC,
most Xbox games are crossplay, so I don't know.
So yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I'll play this game with you guys. No, that's sick. That's a good one.
Yeah, we can jump, because only thing I've been playing it was like
Metal
I
Gear.
said, Metal Gear and League of Legends. I don't know why I deleted League of Legends, but
Hmm.
those are the only two games I've been playing so far, and I haven't really been playing Metal Gear that much since I moved in. So
Okay. Just a
only
busy
just
week, right?
yeah, just a super busy week for me. So
And you're waiting for Mass Effect, of course, right?
exactly.
Which we'll both probably be playing this next week, and we'll talk about next week. So, okay, so yeah, Invincible, man, season 1. Warning for everybody: we're gonna spoil the shit out of this, um, because I finished it this weekend. I ended up binging it over the course of like 3 days. It's only 8 episodes though, so it's nothing that crazy. Um, yeah, Montreal. So, what did you think of this show, man?
So the first episode I watched it because everyone was like hyping Invincible up. So I guess some background. I already knew about Invincible. I knew
Mm-hmm.
about what the comic was about and
Same,
everything.
same.
I just never read it, so I already knew about it, and I knew that it was like a subversion of superhero tropes.
Right.
So but like I said, I didn't know anything about it, so I still went into it. And I was like, "Oh, this is like a regular superhero comic or show." It reminded me of Justice League or something like that, like the old
Mm,
Superman, not
mm-hmm.
the old Superman shows, but the ones that we grew up watching.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of those. And then at the end of the episode, fucking Omni Man just kills everybody. Uh, or
Yeah.
kills
Right.
their version of the Justice League or Super Friends or whatever you Avengers, whatever you want to call them. He kills that version in their world, what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I thought that was super interesting. And for a minute there, I thought maybe he wasn't under some kind of mind control, but no, he's just a fucking asshole. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so I come into the same way you did. I knew what Invincible was. I knew what it was about. I had never read it though, so I'd always kind of been thought about it, but I'm just not huge into comic books really, so never
yeah,
happened. So this show being made was good for me in that regard. But so what I'm going to say though, I think this show's been really hyped up. I think people are really into it right now. The internet is kind of in love with it. Um, I'm not.
wow,
I'm not in love with it. I think it's okay. I think it's a decent show, but it has significant problems for me that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get past. Because the first episode is really good. It's a really good setup. I feel like Mark being the main character, Invincible, doesn't have his powers yet, and he like discovers them. You know, in the weirdest way imaginable too. He's just trying to take out the trash at his fucking part-time job and he throws it into space like the trash bag or whatever.
yeah,
Which is, it's a funny setup. It is like, and then he tells his parents and like they're just like, "Oh, okay, great." Like they're not even like that excited for him. Like it's like they almost didn't like Omni Man literally says it might have been better if you didn't get your powers.
yeah,
Um but yeah, and then Omni Man, kills the Guardians of the Globe or whatever the fuck they're called. And that was like the coolest moment in the show, obviously, because it comes out of nowhere and it creates a lot of intrigue within the show and it kind of feeds the rest of the plot for the whole season. But that's the issue, is that ultimately, like, nothing that else that happens in the season, almost literally nothing, really is as interesting as that moment. Like the show just kind of meanders along. I feel like it's kind of weird. And you can tell this is like a comic book adaptation because it's like, if you're reading the comic, it wouldn't present that poorly, probably, because they're trying to build to a certain specific arc. Whereas with this show, they have to wrap it up within the 8 episodes that they have allotted to
yeah.
them, and they have to create a coherent arc there. So it's like, I feel like the adaptation may have lost some things. Probably. I mean, I'm not saying this definitively because as I said, I didn't read the comic, but it just, I don't know. Like, I didn't find a lot of the characters interesting. I don't really like anyone in the show, to be frank. Like, I
Wow.
I think Mark's mom is probably the only character I actually like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and like Mark himself, I really don't like. I don't enjoy watching a
Wow.
character be shitty at everything all the time. It's
So
like,
how the hell do you like My Hero then?
because
Because
he's not
Deku's
shitty.
shitty.
No, bro, no. Deku has
Deku is
moments.
shitty.
No, but he
Deku is
has
shitty,
moments.
bro.
Okay, but
He
he
has
has
his moments too, and Mark
no,
has his
no,
moments.
he doesn't. He gets
Yes,
his ass handed to him all the time. He never wins a fight, dude. Like
he's
almost
like,
ever.
all right. So throughout the entire fucking season, right? I think
Name a
that's
fight
like
he wins. Name one fight where he actually wins.
he wins the fight against the androids,
What androids?
the cyborgs, the cyborgs.
Cyborgs. What are you talking about? Which
Uh,
episode is that?
Mark's
Oh, you're
friend.
talking about episode
Yeah, when,
what is that? 6?
yeah, when Mark's friend
Friend.
boyfriend's his friend's
Okay.
boyfriend gets captured,
Counter to
and then
that. He the only reason he wins that fight is because Mark's his Williams boyfriend is a cyborg and realizes he who he is and saves them. Like Mark
okay,
didn't
okay,
win that on his
I
own.
can give you that one. I can give you that.
He was
Well,
getting his ass kicked before that by 3 of them. Like he was about to get killed probably. Like so there was that. There was the fight in the skyscraper where he literally almost dies. Where that what I will say, that lion guy with the fucking hammer shows up and fucks everybody up. Like
yeah, that shit was dope.
more about that guy. I will say that guy, dude. He seems like a really powerful character, obviously. And he's like talking so much shit too. He's like, you guys are pathetic. Like, I'm not even interested in this fight anymore. Like, and he just leaves. So that like, there's some cool moments. I don't know. I think Mark. I'm sure I'll like him later, but
yeah,
right
I think
now,
Mark is one of those characters. I think you gotta give him a chance, and you gotta give him.
I
You
know,
have to
I know.
also give him the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah,
or not the benefit of the doubt, but like give him some leeway because he just got his
yeah.
powers. I think
I'm not,
everything happens in the course of
yeah.
like 3 months.
I'm
So
not
it's
saying
like,
I hate him. I'm not saying I hate him. I understand the circumstances. He's a teenager. You know, he doesn't know how to use his powers. He had this kind of glorified view of what it would be to be a superhero, and he gets
yeah, and it showed
disenfranchised.
you,
That's the whole show. It's
it showed you the
deconstructing that,
reality.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it showed you the reality of the
right. I
situation.
get it. I do get it, and obviously I do like The Boys, which does a similar thing, but it does it from a different perspective, which I enjoy more, I guess, with The Boys. This show, I don't know.
I don't like that comparison. People have been comparing
It's
it
not
to
a
the
good
boys.
comparison. No, it's not. It's not a good comparison. Go ahead.
I don't like it. I feel like this is a deconstruction of like, yeah, like you said, superheroes, but like he has to like it's like a more realistic approach to it. Like he has to
Yeah.
fucking drop out of school now, or
Yep.
he's gonna have to drop out of
Yep.
school. Like
Yep.
how is he gonna get any money from this shit? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of shit that has to go on. So he can be a superhero or take on that mantle and things of nature. And I think obviously like balancing. I mean, we all seen superhero tropes of like balancing their love life and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this opinion will. Fuck it,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
What did you think of Amber?
Okay. So Amber, the character and the person, I like. Her place in the show, I hated
Okay,
because her whole relationship with Mark is kind of super shallow, and I don't think there's a long term like really. I don't think they're going to work long term because their relationship is built off him like almost putting her on a pedestal, and it's not going to play out well, like the only reason like she is allowing the relationship to happen. Like if she says the relationship's over, the relationship's over. Mark's never going to end the relationship because he like worships her, like and that's the way he views her in his head. And I don't think the relationship's fun to watch as a result because it almost comes off as like abusive in a lot of ways where it's like he's kind of taking abuse even though he's not in the wrong, but he can't tell her why. But then there's this really dumb moment too in episode 6 where she gets super mad at him because he left when that cyborg was fucking everybody up or whatever at the college. And then she reveals literally later when they get home, like, "Oh, I've known for a while that you were a superhero." Then, like,
okay,
what,
so that's the
bitch?
part I want to talk about.
Why
Like,
did you get mad then? Like,
yeah, why did she get mad? So the
yeah,
entire the whole show, I understood why she was mad. Like I
mm-hmm.
understood like,
Yes,
yeah, you were
agreed.
disappearing on me and all this stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and you say you're going to be there, but you're not, and all this stuff. So I get it.
Yep.
Like I
Yep.
100% understand it from actually both of their perspectives, right?
Hmm.
Another thing I think a lot of people aren't really fucking taking into account is that these kids are in high school. I mean,
Yes.
we were all dumb as fuck in high school,
Yes.
so
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
uh, I can't really expect neither one of them to handle this situation
Rationally.
in a rational manner. So yeah,
Yeah.
her
True.
revealing, I got super upset too when she was like, "Well, I knew all along. Like, it's not fucking rocket science that you're a superhero." And then I was like, "But you got mad at him when he ran to
Right.
turn into Invincible." But then I had
Right.
to think, she's a fucking high schooler, and we're irrational, so that's just a thing.
I
I
don't know.
just
It's a
thought,
little too far for me. That
yeah,
I don't know. It's a little
I
too
chalked it
irrational,
I chalked it up
But
to bad writing, and I was just
yeah,
like, "This is
I
just
think that's
really
what it
bad
is.
writing."
Yeah.
Because that was a stupid reveal. I think that was just a
Mhm.
really really dumb plot, or I guess
Well,
I don't
because
want to call it a
the
plot
whole
hole.
thing feels contrived, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
at that moment, like even forget about this the cyborg thing. Even the rest of it is like if you knew all along that he was who he was, then what? Like you were like testing him then, basically. Like you were waiting for him to reveal that he was a superhero to you, even though he's not supposed to. Like I don't like it feels a little. I don't know. Feels a little much. So I know there's been a good amount of dislike for her character, Amber. I don't like dislike the character. I dislike the way she's been written. Like the situations she's put in. I guess is what I mean.
yeah. And I
Um,
think that's the difference a lot of people aren't seeing. Because I heard some terrible takes. I
mhm.
heard like people don't like her because she's a like, oh, you guys just don't like her because she's a black woman, and I'm
Mhm.
like, no, that's not it. Like it's
It's
and
definitely not
like
it.
it's and then people were like, well, she was acting this way because, or they written her this way because she's a black woman, and they trying to have the whole stereotype of her being angry. And
Mhm.
I don't even, I feel like even if she was a white woman, like she has a right to be angry at Mark, like
Yeah,
majority of the fucking time.
I agree. Yeah.
It doesn't matter who that character was. That person was going to be, if it was a guy or any other gender or anything like that, they were going to be mad regardless of because what Mark was doing. Like Mark was just being a really shitty boyfriend at that point, and no one's
Mhm.
willing to admit that. Everyone's seeing it from his perspective, but no one's
Yeah.
seeing it from her perspective. Like
Right.
he was being a shitty boyfriend,
Right.
and I get that. So but it's just been like really terrible takes, and I actually like muted Invincible like on my timeline because that take just kept coming up, and I was just like,
Mhm.
I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about Omni Man's being a Viltrumite and all this other stuff
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to get controversial here because this show, this story is a Robert Kirkman special.
Yeah, I
And
know.
yeah, do you know what I mean by that when
Yeah,
I say that?
exactly.
Because Walking Dead is the same way, where there is a very, very important detail about this world that is just not explained in any way, and it never will be. And we all have to accept that if we're going to move forward with this show. And that is, how the fuck do people have superpowers? They just do.
They just
Like,
do.
that's just like
Yeah,
an accepted fact that they just do it. And I know some people are going to say, like, oh, what does it matter? But it absolutely, to me, it's like the basis of the story. Like, it's the foundation. The foundation's like completely like mud because like there would be no conflict in this show if people on Earth didn't have superpowers, right? It's like it when you start to deconstruct it, it starts to feel really contrived because Omni Man comes to Earth. His goal is to conquer Earth. If people didn't have superpowers, he would just conquer Earth. There would be no long game of like trying to like break it from within and gain everyone's. No, he would just conquer Earth.
well,
Like then there'd be no story.
I'll
So
counter that, right? I'll counter that with with
mhm.
this, and someone had to break this down to me. His story isn't about the it isn't about the world itself. It's about the characters.
I
Once
understand that.
once
Which
once
is
I got
that's Kirkman's style. Walking
yeah
Dead's the same way.
yeah
That's
exactly.
that's
Once
what
I
I was getting at.
yeah
Is like
what
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, once I got past that point, like it was for
Mhm.
me for Walking Dead. It made Walking Dead a little bit more enjoyable, but then it
Yeah.
also made it more like, okay, so this is just going to be an ongoing soap opera. Like
Right. That's
there's not going to
exactly
be an
what.
end plot or end point to it.
Exactly. Because he did the same thing in Walking Dead, right? Walking Dead, the zombie apocalypse is never explained, right? Like they don't explain the where the virus comes from. They explain certain parts of it that everyone has it, but they don't explain the origins of it or anything like that. And to be honest, it's less important in The Walking Dead because the kind of situations the characters are put into are a lot more. They're so visceral and kind of in your face that
Yeah,
you can kind of get past it. And obviously, it is a heavily character driven story, so I think it's easier to get around. I think with this story, I think it's harder for me to get past that because right now I don't like these characters. So what does that leave me? Like I don't have anything to grab onto. This world is interesting to me, but I don't think it's ever going to be satisfactorily explained. Like there's this group of planets that are trying to unite against the Viltrumites because they're trying to take over the fucking universe. But like, is that ever going to be explored deeply? I don't know. I don't really trust Kirkman to do that because he doesn't really ever do that. So and the other problem I'm going to have is this show. This show is probably going to have to deal with something with him because he did this with both Invincible and The Walking Dead, where he just this is what he does is like he writes the show or he writes the comic for years, fucking 10 years or whatever. And then one day he wakes up and he's like, I'm done with it. I don't want to write this anymore. And then he just ends it. He did that with both of them. He did that with both of them, dude. Like, and I know the ending to The Walking Dead. I don't know the ending to Invincible, but I know the ending to The Walking Dead, and it's like completely unsatisfying for what that is, And it's just like I expect Invincible similar, and it's going to feel abrupt because that's kind of what he did with both of them. So there's just issues with the way he writes and the way he constructs stories that I think are going to probably be more fleshed out the further we go with this, because it's already got seasons 2 and 3 lined up. But so you have to kind of deal with these things. You have to take these things. If you don't mind the things I just said about Kirkman, then you'll probably like Invincible. But I don't 100% like what he does sometimes, and that's just the reality of it for me. So it's not that I'm saying Invincible's bad. I don't think it's bad. It's satisfactory. I enjoyed watching it. I'm probably never going to watch it again. That's where it sits. It's not that good of a show. But okay, so to get back to originally what we were talking about, though, Omni-Man. I do like Omni-Man, actually. Like, I don't like him as a person, of course, but like the concept of him and the Viltrumites, I do find his whole play really intriguing because he's presented a lot of the time as like this unkillable force, but it's pretty obvious that's not true because
yep,
we see it in the first episode, right? He kind of gets his ass fucking kicked by the Guardians. He barely wins,
barely. Yep.
like barely wins. Like if that fight if had dragged out even a couple more minutes, he probably would have been dead. He
I
would
feel
have
like
killed a
they're
shitload of them, but
yeah, I feel like they're more prepared. They could have beat him.
mm-hmm, absolutely, which is why he did it the way he did it.
Yep.
Because I think he knew that. But the rest of the season though presents him though as this just like unkillable, unstoppable force. And I don't love that because it then creates this like it almost robs these scenes of tension because no one can beat him. Like at the end of the season, right? There's no part of me that was ever thinking Mark was going to win that fight against him. Like I never for one moment thought he was going to win.
Man,
So it was like
I just feel like you're looking at it wrong. I don't think that was the point, though.
I know it wasn't the point. I know no
Okay,
no.
okay.
I'm
I'll
getting
let you finish. I'll let
I'm
you
getting
finish.
to it.
All right, I'll let you finish.
Like the point of that scene is to show that Mark's like how not ready Mark is for this situation, right? Like he's getting thrust into this and like this is all coming at him so fast, right? So I don't think this is poor. I like the way the scene's structured. I just think Omni-Man though, like as an antagonist, like is I don't know. The season just doesn't feel it. It doesn't come together for me. There's no like. There's
Well,
nothing like.
I can definitely tell you the season was rushed. There's a lot
Mhm.
of stuff. I start reading comics, and there's a lot of stuff in the comics that They
Wasn't in there.
changed. Yeah, exactly. That wasn't in there. They
Mm-hmm.
rewritten. Um,
Yeah.
like Amber, for instance, in the comics, when he finally told her, she didn't know. She was like, "Oh, okay." Like she
Oh.
wasn't like this
Hmm.
in the show.
Okay.
So I feel like there's a lot of stuff they left out, and I
Yeah.
feel like the reason they did leave it out is because they weren't sure. Like
Yeah.
it was almost like a pilot season, in my opinion. Like that's why it's only 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
If you will. So I think next season is going to be a lot more fleshed out. They obviously they got greenlit for season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think it's going to be a lot more fleshed out. But getting back to like Omni Man, I feel like besides Mark not being ready, I feel like it was to show how he fooled everyone
Oh
on the
yeah.
planet.
Mm-hmm. Even the wife, right?
Even the wife, yeah. Like
Right.
it was just it. I like the way it played out, to be honest with you, because it
It was
really showed.
gross. It was raw. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like really in your face how
Right.
he just turned the switch on and he was just like, I don't fucking care about any of this shit,
Right.
and you shouldn't either because you are stronger than all these peasants. Like,
Right. I love the think line where like think Mark, that meme that came out of it. I understand it now. Obviously, context is really funny. Actually, though, that moment is funny. Like think Mark, these people are worthless. Like it's funny, man.
so
Um, yeah,
yeah, I think that's really cool. And it was just such a massive blow to like his wife. Even though I forgot the one guy, he already knew like something was up with Omni Man.
Cecil.
Cecil, yeah. Cecil already knew something was up with Omni Man before. Um, but like now he has like verification, but it's like it's not like a typical show where they're like, yes, finally we can kill him because I have the proof I need. It was like he didn't want that. Like I think he
Yeah,
legitimately liked Omni Man as a person. Like he was like,
yeah.
I like this guy, but in my job I can't trust people. So
Well,
it was like
also he knew they couldn't do shit really to stop him. Like,
exactly, yeah. So it's
yeah,
like, um, I like the whole dynamic of how everything played out because it didn't. To me, the show it was to subvert your expectations, but it did it in a way that I liked. It wasn't
yeah,
like I don't know. It just seemed some parts were written like really bad, like the Amber's the
yeah,
stuff and everything like that.
yeah,
I will say like the subplot of him and the Stone guy,
yeah. Titan. Yeah,
Titan. I think that was like
I did like that.
yeah, that was a cool plot. I like that. I like how he helped them, and then Omni Man was trying to tell him like, well, someone's just going to take his place, and he obviously took his place.
Yeah.
That one guy's place. Um,
But yeah, Mark's like really virtuous, and that guy was obviously trying to take advantage of him, and Omni Man was trying to point that out. But there was also a lesson there for Mark, though, too, is that like you can't, and this is where he was kind of coming from his mom's side, is like he can't just say this person's beneath saving, like that's not. If he really wants to be a hero, that's not something you do.
yeah, and I agree
And
with
that
that.
arc, that little mini arc, kind of was him, I guess, learning that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even for Titan though, like it showed that villains are sometimes they're not just villains to be the richest person in the world. Like he had a
Yeah.
purpose. Like he was obviously
Hmm.
trying to help the lower class people or lower citizens because like when he had to burn that building down, he gave all those people like a lot of money so they can move into another
Well,
place.
he also told them before he burned it so they
Yeah,
could get out of the
exactly.
building, right?
Yeah. So he obviously has some kind of honor system within him, and I like that they showed villains aren't just villains for no reason. Um, so I mean, it was like it's a cool show. I think they just need to flesh out stuff more. They only had
Hmm.
8 episodes to do it.
Yeah.
I will say the animation was not the best, and I understand
No.
why.
Yeah.
Um, certain scenes were cool, and then certain scenes were like, whatever. Um,
I think episode 8 though is overall probably the best one
yeah, it is.
in terms of animation and just the storyline. Like that was the episode where I would say I was the most engaged. Omni Man, because I mean it's a long 20-30 minute dragged out fight between them, and he's talking at Mark the whole time, and I think it works. Like I like the rawness of those scenes, where everyone
Yeah.
can hear everything he's saying. and it's not like he just lays it all out on the table, and he's like, I think the part about it is like the only way that conflict was going to get resolved without Mark dying, or B, Omni-Man just taking over the planet, was literally Omni-Man leaving. Like there was no other resolution that was going to happen that wasn't like wouldn't have been like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, So,
And I liked it. I think it was I think it was realistic because people are like, oh, he's a
mhm.
venture might he should have just took everything over right after that.
Yeah,
But like Mark's his son. Like
yeah, that's not a
he
small thing.
it's not a small thing. He tried to make it a small thing. You saw him trying to fight
He's
it.
trying to say it. Yeah, he's trying to
Yeah,
say it to convince himself, but yeah, he's not all the way there clearly.
yeah, exactly. And he left. Like and when he
Mhm.
saw how Mark was looking at him, like especially the line where he said, I guess something about what you're gonna do if I leave or something like that. He said like I'll love you or I'll leave you or something like. Or Mark said something pretty much saying like I would still come back to you because you're my father. I love you, and he was
Mhm.
like fuck, like what the fuck have I done? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
Yeah.
uh I don't know. It's just that whole scene was really cool. I liked, yeah, and I like how you said too. Everyone can hear it because a lot of shows fucking do that shit, right? Like, I feel
Mhm.
like oh, Walking Dead is actually a good example. The show, where Rick is fighting Shane
Mm.
in the farm, and only
Mhm.
Rick and Shane know what the fuck is going on and why Shane is being this way. No one else knows why Shane is just gone or died.
So
Like
that
no one.
creates a lot of drama, right?
Exactly. And it's like now characters have to figure out, looks like Rick actually killed Shane. And, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, no one fucking cares. Like now that
Mhm.
we're so removed from that and everything like that. But I like how, yeah, like you said, they just laid everything out for the characters. Everybody knew what was going on. I like how also too, like no one was stupid. Like how in
Mhm.
superhero shows, like people are purposely stupid. I think the only thing was like everyone was like, "Oh my god, Omni Man's your dad," and he didn't. He never wore a mask. Um,
Yeah, it's like yeah, that oh my god. Like dude, he didn't even do the glasses thing like Clark Kent, Like there was literally no difference between him when he was in his uniform and when he wasn't. Like yeah, no, that shit's so annoying. It's like how stupid are you people, It's like but yeah, so I agree with you. I think the most intriguing element to where the show left off is kind of where these threads are right now. Is like where I'm sure other Viltrumites are probably going to show up at some point, right? That seems like that's obvious at this point. When's
yeah,
Omni Man come back? What's going to happen when he comes back? That's another thing. And then this coalition of planets, like that's a cool plot thread too. And then the shit that happened on Mars too. That seems like that's going to be important too as well. So there's some cool threads that I'm going to watch season 2. Like I want to see where these things go, but I'd say overall, like I think a lot of this season it just felt like there was a lot of wasted time. Like that whole subplot with Robot trying to make a new body for himself. Like what the fuck, dude? They made him look so evil, and it's like he just wanted a new body that was like a teenager so that he could hang out with Monster Girl. Like
yeah, exactly.
and they presented it like he's this evil, like plotting motherfucker. It's just I don't like, yeah, that kind of shit like kind of drives me a little nuts. Because there was a lot of time dedicated to that. So, but we'll see. We'll I don't know if we'll talk about season 2 the way we're talking about season 1, but it's a good show, pretty good. All right, Montreal. Let's move on to the news. Finally. So we don't have much this week. There's not a lot to talk about, which is kind of why we talked about Invincible. But our first story though is a very interesting one, and it is that EA has acquired the developer of Super Mega Baseball Metalhead software, and this is a Canadian studio, and this kind of fills a gap for EA that they have kind of in their studio lineup. They don't have a baseball studio, and the reason I guess we put this in the news though is that there's this kind of conflict that's been going on for the last few months now between EA and 2K. And this is just one more kind of notch in that. So let me take you through it real quick, right? So I feel like this started kind of with Codemasters a few months ago when EA acquired Codemasters, which Codemasters is a publisher that has a ton of racing studios underneath them. And that's kind of their big thing. And 2K was trying to buy Codemasters. And they had an $800 million offer on the table. Codemasters said accepted. And then at the 11th hour, EA comes in and is like, 1.2 billion we'll buy you for. And then Codemasters took that deal, and their EA now owns them. So it's so it started there. And then 2K bought a studio. I forget the name of it, but they bought a studio that made golf games. And then they announced that deal with Tiger Woods to make a new golf game series. And that studio is going to be the one doing it. And now EA is getting this studio to make baseball games, presumably. And then also going further back to like last year, I think 2K had announced that they were making a football game as well, a non-simulation football game that they're going to be releasing at some point in the future. So there's just a lot of things happening between these two publishers right now. They're kind of going back and forth and really, I feel like, really directly going at each other, like in a way that I don't feel like we see very often in the video game space. Like this feels like EA and 2K are kind of like in the ring, smacking each other around, Well, how do you feel about this whole situation, Montreal?
I actually like it. I think we're gonna get better games out of it. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, except for fucking NFL, Jesus Christ. I feel like the MLB and NBA are leaving those licenses open because
Yeah.
competition breeds creativity,
Yep.
and they win. They get all that money, regardless of
They
the
win.
fact.
Right. More companies making games, the more money they make.
Exactly,
Right.
and then we have the NFL. So let's not get into
Well,
that.
so let's go with MLB though, right? Because MLB
Yeah,
right now is still exclusively with Sony. And we know that a couple of years ago they went to Sony and were like, "Hey, make the game multi-platform or we're taking the license away from you." So Sony made the game multi-platform and it came out on Xbox this year and it's part of Game Pass. We've already talked about all that. But the thing about this is I could see here in the next 2 or 3 years MLB going back to Sony and being like, "Look, guys, we love your game. We think your game's excellent, but we want other people to make baseball games. So we're going to do that." And what's Sony going to do? Sony can't do anything. There's nothing they can do about it. So I think that's inevitable at this point. And I think this is EA probably talking to MLB and they're gearing up for that inevitable day. Even though this
yeah.
developer doesn't make a simulation baseball game like Super Mega Baseball, I think is kind of a more arcadey kind of baseball game, but still.
Who said they can't do it though? I mean, they can.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right. So, so yeah, I mean, I think they're gearing up for that future, and with the NFL, I think if 2K can prove that they can make a good football game without the NFL license, I mean, maybe that'll open some eyes at the NFL. I'm sure 2K wants to get back in that ring, so they might be trying. That might be their attempt. So we'll see, Montreal. We'll see how that goes.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's really good. I think it's really cool that I just want that era of sports games where we had like everybody making sports. I remember even
Mm-hmm.
Konami was making a fucking basketball
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want that to go back. Even though we had some shitty ones there, we had some really good ones that came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
Yeah.
want to go back to that era before this exclusivity thing became a thing. And I
The
really,
90s. That was that
yeah,
era.
yeah, man, it was really good. It was really good. But yeah,
Yeah, so I mean we'll keep monitoring this for sure, but I don't know, it's just kind of fun to watch two publishers as big as they are, 2K and EA. Like I mean they're two of the biggest ones out there. Really directly competing on this level,
we actually haven't
it's
seen something
good.
like this since the '90s. I remember games used to do that. They used to go at each other by making
Well,
different
right,
games.
Sega fucking went after Nintendo hard. Remember with their marketing campaigns and stuff?
Yeah, yep.
And I think Sony even did the same thing too. So you're right. Like we've everyone's been kind of playing nice for like 20 years, and I think this is good for everyone. This is going to be good for us because we obviously crow on this show, complain always to the detriment of most of the people listening to this about sports games and where they are right now, I think nothing but good things can come out of this, this kind of thing. So let's hope that happens. All right, Marshall, you got anything else on that?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Our next story is about Ubisoft, and they said within the last few days that they are going to be shifting their focus less on AAA kind of big box games to more of a premium free to play kind of model. And this is a huge shift for Ubisoft because they are, in my opinion, they're the king of the big box AAA video game. Like that's what they make. That's what they're known for. So to shift to something completely different in that regard that they are not super well versed in my opinion, it's kind of a big shift. Montreal, how does this strike you?
Um, it actually doesn't surprise me. I didn't think they were gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Remember when we played Assassin's Creed Odyssey and they started selling the XP boosters, and we
Yes.
said, I think we said this. Either we said it on mic or off mic. Wouldn't it be funny if they made a free to play Assassin's Creed game?
Yep.
And now I think they're doing it. I think this booster model was like a testing ground for that. That's why I got
Mm-hmm.
so scared when Shadow of War did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were double dipping, right? I obviously paid $60 for the game, and then you can pay even more money for XP boosters and different certain captains. And now with Assassin's Creed, like you get XP boosters and everything like that. Like that's why this Assassin's Creed game, even though we loved it at the time, like when Assassin's Creed Origins did it and went to this RPG mode, like an RPG element type game, which is really good. Origins is actually a really good game. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that XP booster shit, I don't think. But
Mm-hmm.
like the other games, though, even Odyssey is a really good game too, but it does have the XP boosters. And now Valhalla has, that came out I think a week into Valhalla came out. The XP
Yeah.
boosters did.
Mm-hmm.
So and obviously Legion, I think, has some kind of microtransactions and stuff like that. So their games are modeled around where I can see them making the game for free, Genshin Impact style, especially Legion, Genshin Impact style, where you
Oh
have this
boy.
game and uh yeah, like I don't want to say Genshin Impact started it. I think Genshin Impact was the first to actually just fucking do it. Let's make a
Yeah.
AAA game
Yep.
and let's see how it go. I think companies were actually already doing the Genshin Impact model before Genshin Impact was doing it, but they
They
were
were just
still
charging 60 for it. Yep.
exactly, and they were giving us a full game and experience and everything like that. But now
Mm-hmm.
Genshin Impact has showed them that we don't have to fucking do this shit. We can make a really good AAA game, free to play game. People will play it and we can make $1 billion. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it works now. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna start making a whole bunch of gotcha games out of their, because like I can see Assassin's Creed Valhalla making another game, maybe Assassin's Creed Brotherhood 3 or something like that, where you did get certain assassins on your team. You had a whole crew of people in Assassin's
Mm-hmm.
Creed Brotherhood. And I think it's Brotherhood 1 or 2. I don't know if there's a second one actually. So there may be Brotherhood 2 where they can make it a Genshin Impact model where you get certain assassins and stuff like that. New assassins come out every weekend and things of that nature. Watchdog Legions, obviously, you get different characters that come into the sandbox that you can capture, or you can just order one, from like the little fucking gotcha box thing, So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I see it. I ain't mean to go off on a tangent on that, but I
Mm-hmm.
I
No,
think
go for it.
I just think Genshin Impact was a gift and a curse. I mean, we predicted that
Oh
as
yeah.
well. We saw it. We
Yeah.
saw the writing on the
Oh
wall as
yeah.
soon as that
Oh,
game was
absolutely.
released. Yeah,
Yep.
so
Bro, I played right. I waxed poetic about I didn't even understand how this game was possible, like how they're gonna swing this game, and they're doing it, man. They're doing it, they're doing it. I'm not playing it anymore, but that's not because I wasn't like having fun with it. That was like a personal decision to protect myself from it,
yeah.
because it was that good, So it's interesting. This is really interesting to me because I didn't think about the Genshin Impact connection. I do think that game might have some influence here. That Ubisoft might have seen that game and been like, "Hey, fuck, we can do that. We already do that. We just like we don't do it the way they're doing it. Like we
Yep.
release the whole game as like a huge fucking game, whereas
Yep.
they could probably release 30% of an Assassin's Creed game for free and then release the other whatever 70% over the course of a year or two,
Yep.
and make a shitload of money that whole time. Like
Yep.
they could totally do that. They absolutely could because those games are that big. And to be frank with you, I think the industry at large is kind of got fatigued with Ubisoft. I don't think a lot of people enjoy these games at this point because they're too big. They're too there's too much content, which is insane to say. But if that's a common criticism of your games, though, then well, fuck it. Why not shave that down a lot, release the game for less money, and then make your money on other kinds of systems? There's plenty of ways to monetize video games. So I see why they're doing this. I think another reason they might be doing this too is that the last couple years, Ubisoft's had a really bad time.
Yeah.
COVID hit them pretty hard. And even before COVID, they were already in a bad situation because if you remember, they had a shitload of games lined up to come out early last year, and basically none of them came out until the end of the year,
Yep.
So they had probably a full calendar year where they had very few releases, if any, and I'm sure that didn't work very well for their shareholders. And that probably has influence here too. It's about managing their portfolio and their studios and the schedules, right?
Yeah.
Is if you're releasing smaller games for free and then iterating on those games, that becomes a much more consistent release schedule for Ubisoft, rather than trying to aim for 3 or 4 AAA games every year,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to try to put a positive spin on this. I can see them maybe having an Assassin's Creed game. That Assassin's Creed game, whatever the fuck it is, I don't know. Let's call it
Assassin's Creed universe.
Yeah, I was going to say Assassin's Creed World or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So we got that Assassin's Creed universe / world. They release content for it. They make like maybe $500 to $600 million off of it, whatever. And the game itself only probably took like maybe not that much to make. They can free that up for other projects. Like maybe they can make a one-off Assassin's Creed game that everyone wanted, before. They had the funding for it now. Maybe they make a Ghost Recon game, like the same premise, and then that money they get from that game, they can make that one-off Tom Clancy Splinter Cell game that because everybody wants Splinter Cell to come back. But they have the capital to do it because there'll be a low risk for it. Like even if it flops, we got it out, and so that's the positive spin I'm going to put on it. But I mean, they may not do that, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of worry that this is going to be like, companies are going to go away from making these single player games. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Also, first of all, we need to let this play out. Like we need to see if Ubisoft's successful doing this because they don't know how to do this. They're trying. This is a new initiative for them that they're trying. They're not a well-oiled machine in doing this. So we'll see if it even works out. And second of all, he didn't say that they're not going to make AAA big box games anymore. He said that their focus isn't going to be releasing 3 or 4 of those per year. So that doesn't mean they're not going to make any, like Montrell just said. So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. I don't personally have a huge stake in this. I don't care about Ubisoft that much. I don't really like most of their games. So I'm actually really intrigued. Like if Square Enix came out and said this same thing, I'd be freaking out on this podcast, but Ubisoft, we'll see. It might even make their games more palatable to me, potentially,
I honestly can see fucking Square Enix making a game, Final Fantasy Universe, something like that, where and you just get certain characters. Like people will, and it's Genshin Impact quality with the Final Fantasy VII battle system.
Let's
Yeah,
not give them ideas, Montreal.
I'm
Please stop.
sorry. I would probably even like.
I know you would. I would too. We all would. That's what I'm saying. Don't give them ideas because I'm not immune to these things, okay? I learned last year that I thought I was done with gotcha games, Montreal, and Genshin Impact pulled me back in, okay? And, I don't need that shit in my life. So let's not give Square Enix some ideas, all right? Please.
All
Thank
right,
you.
we can move on.
All right, let's move on. Next story. This is kind of a minor one, but worth noting here is that there's a report that came out that Sony is going to be using a new chip, a 6 nanometer AMD chip, and they're going to try to start using this in 2022 in the PS5, and this will give the console a small performance increase and potentially draw a little bit less power than it does now. It's not really a huge thing to me, but worth noting that there will be a console revision similar to the Switch that happened a couple years ago, happening with the PlayStation 5. This doesn't necessarily mean we'll get more consoles in the wild anytime soon because these aren't gonna start being produced till 2022. So,
Yeah.
but Matra, what do you think of this?
Um, like you said, I don't think it's going to have a significant impact. I am glad that companies are trying to at least go with different manufacturers for chips and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
that actually kind of corresponds with the report that or the reports and the rumors I made last week saying that semiconductors aren't going to be a thing or they're not going to be unscarce. I don't know what the word for I don't know what the opposite of scarce is.
Plentiful. Yeah.
Plentiful. Yeah, they're not going to be
Yeah.
abundant until 2021, mid 2021, or I'm sorry, mid 2022 rather. So that makes sense why they're probably going to be have these out. But my question is this: I mean we talked about it. I text you and you text me back, and me and you are terrible at texting each other, actually, which is hilarious. You
We
think
are.
that we
Yeah.
text each other all the fucking time on this podcast? We are
Nope,
actually,
we barely text,
yeah,
man.
we barely
He
text.
texts me. He texts me, and I didn't get back to him for hours. And then he never responded to what I said. So I mean, we talk every week, dude. It's not like I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly. So, but yeah, that's actually going to be like my question. Like,
Mhm.
say like they don't get a foothold on this in 2022. I feel like
Mhm.
this will negatively impact. Right now, companies are eating. I don't know how this will affect other industries being affected
Mhm.
by the resellers, but I feel like video games are unique in a way that right now Xbox and Sony are eating because the resellers are buying these games up, are buying the consoles up. My
Mhm.
whole main concern is yes, people will buy from resellers, but you got a lot of people out there who are just like, I'm not spending $900 for a console, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's just there's a lot of people out there. Like I thought maybe it was like maybe 40%, but like no, it was like a recent poll and it polled over 5,000 people, and they're like 70% of them were like, no, I'm not spending over $800 for a console. Like maybe
Yeah.
600, maybe 700 if I'm doing
Right.
really good one week. But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I say all that to say, I think we got all these game companies coming out. If if they don't get things, Xbox and PlayStation do not get things under control, even Nintendo too. They don't get
Yeah.
anything
Oh, I know.
under control by next year. Because I think that by the end of next year, we're gonna start seeing a lot of first party heavy hitters. I don't even know what's coming out next year, but I just feel it in my bones. Like we're gonna see, like Sony's gonna come out with some heavy hitters next year.
God of War,
Yeah, God of War.
Horizon, maybe.
And then we got Xbox who got like 5 good studios making things that's coming out next year. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think Fable's one of them. So it's like well, we have these teams making these games. The problem is, yes, they may have sold 50 million consoles, right, on paper. But
Mhm.
like, what happens when only 5 million people buy those exclusive games? Not even
Mhm.
5 million, only like
Mhm.
1 million people buy these exclusive games because they. I mean, God of War, even though it's really popular, is still niche in my opinion. Like the average dude, bro, probably still won't buy God of War. He probably will because
Yeah.
it's God of War, but
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it sold very well.
yeah, it did. But like, okay, let's say like Fable, right? For instance, like that's
Okay.
super popular. Even PlayStation people are like, I want Fable, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not God of War popularity. It is a
Right.
very it's a niche hardcore gamer type deal, or even some of these Japanese games. Let's say they come out with Persona 6 for PS5. Even though that sold well, but it still took a while to sell well. And
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely niche.
yeah, it's definitely niche. What happens when game companies stop making games for PS5 and Xbox One, and they're like, or not PS5, but PS4 rather,
PS4, right?
and they're
Yeah.
like, this is exclusively an Xbox Series X game slash S game, and this is exclusively a
Mm-hmm.
PS5 game. This can negatively impact their first party studios because like the big bosses are going to be looking up like, okay, we spent all this money in this game, we're not getting it back. What's going on? And
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be like, well, we have 50 million on paper. We have 50 million consoles out there. We sold 50 million consoles, but why
Mm-hmm.
are only 5% of people buying the games? That doesn't the install base just doesn't match. So like, how do you feel about that?
So I get what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from. I could see a reality where that happens. I think the thing is though, right now Sony and Microsoft are actually both insulating themselves from this problem by making their exclusives cross generation, and that is continuing. I think that's going to continue into next year, dude. Like we already know that Horizon Forbidden West is a cross-gen game. It's coming on PS4 and PS5,
Okay,
which is
I didn't know
you
that
know
part. I didn't know that.
hugely disappointing. We don't know that about God of War, but I would not be surprised if that game is cross-generation, and that is definitely coming in 2022. So, um, given that, and I think Microsoft's doing the same thing with Halo Infinite too, right? I don't that game's cross-generation as well, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so we're going to be in late 2021, like literally a full year after the consoles come out, where we're still getting cross generation games. I think the companies are aware of this, and they're trying to insulate themselves from this. And third parties doing the same thing, right? There are very few true exclusives on either of these machines right now. Returnal's one of the first ones. We got Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank's coming out on PS5. I don't even know if there's like a true exclusive on Xbox Series X, right now.
I don't think so. No, not right now.
Yeah, so
But we don't
like
have the
that.
sales numbers for like Returnal, right? I think Returnal is a good
Yeah.
example of a game
Hmm.
that if everyone had their hands on the PS5, that game would
Hmm.
probably sell well because just the word of mouth of Returnal is really good. The problem
Hmm.
is people can't get their hands on the PS5 and they can't enjoy this game. And I think
Yeah.
we honestly, and I don't wish this game, I don't wish it on this game, but I really feel like Ratchet and Clank is the game we're going to see this hit hard for them, in my
We'll see,
opinion.
because by the time it comes out, they'll be lucky if there's 10 million units like
E-
sold.
Exactly. Like
So
actually
that means
in the hands of the
their sales
consumers.
are limited. Their sales potential is limited.
Yeah, because I think we don't have the numbers for how many Miles Morales sold on the PS5. That was a cross-gen
No,
game.
we
So
don't.
we know that people bought it on the PS4 and it sold really well. But
Hmm.
I want to know what the PS5 numbers are. And
Yeah.
actually, I think we can get the numbers for Demon Souls. I looked it up after the show, actually. But I think but that's a popular game. But I still think Demon Souls and Ratchet and Clank will be the reality for these next gen exclusive games only, and companies are probably going to steer away from that for another 2 years, probably until everyone gets their hands till it's finally okay to get your hands on the Xbox Series X slash S, which you can get an S now anyway, or get your hands on the PS5. Like,
Hmm.
so I mean, that's just my 2 cents. I think these resellers are going to have a negative impact on the game industry, but on the developers end, it's not going to be the
Hmm.
hardware manufacturers because they're still eating, like they're still getting their money.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to affect the developers.
Right, because the longer this goes, the more likely it is that if there aren't enough people with consoles, they're going to continue to do cross generation games, and that does hurt developers, and that hurts us too because that limits the potential of these games. They can upscale whatever the fuck they want, to
Exactly.
PS5, but making a game on PS4 and then upgrading it for PS5 is not the same thing. Not the same thing.
And
I'm
Ratchet
going
and
to
Clank
repeat
is
that. not the same thing as making a game natively on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X.
Yep.
Ratchet and Clank is going to be exhibit fucking A of that.
Exactly.
That game is going to blow your minds, guys. I'm just telling you. Like, it's going to do things we've never seen a video game do. Like, and I like, it might not be the game for you, but the technology is going to be showcased with that video game. So that game will sell well. I think it's going to have a very high attach rate on the console, actually, because of that. But to Montrell's point, though, like, how high is that, though, right now? Is that, like, let's say 5 million? That would be 50% attach rate, dude, if there's 10 million consoles. That's insane. Like, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
But that's not good sales numbers for a Sony exclusive, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Sony's looking for 10 million plus, you know? Obviously, they're limited by the number of consoles they have. But at the same time, what's the point of having a system seller like Ratchet and Clank when there's no systems to sell?
That's my point right there. That's actually a good point. I forgot about the system seller part. Like, what's the point of buying Halo Infinite if I can just get it on my Xbox One X or my Xbox One S? Like, we need console, or the companies rather, they need those system sellers. They need those that. And what if the next Fable comes out and they're like, yo, this is an Xbox Series S and X exclusive. This is not going to be on the Xbox One. So in PC. So it's going to be on PC rather, but it's not going to be on, Xbox One X or whatever. So it's like they just have to, they have to come up with some kind of strategy, because system sellers, in my opinion, resellers have killed the idea of what a system seller is now. Because back in the day, let's just say hypothetically, we had the technology back in 2010 for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and Ratchet and Clank came out, the Rift Apart. Oh my God, people will be standing outside for that game because that game looks fucking that dope.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I had something in my head and I lost it. Oh my God, this is gonna bother me so much, Montrell. Oh, it's killing me. I don't remember.
Ah, shit.
I had one more point about this, and it was it felt salient. Oh well, if I remember, I'll say it. Montreal. I think this is, I don't know. It's a good conversation to have. I think it's definitely something Sony and Microsoft are talking about internally, I'm sure, but there's not, I don't know. The problem is I don't know how much they can do about it, besides beyond making more units, like what can they really do about it? Because once the inventory is in retailers' hands, it's up to the retailer to sell it, and if they're selling it to people you don't want them selling it to, what do you do? Like, how do you stop them from doing that? So I don't know. It's a complicated issue. It's a supply chain problem that has no real easy solution to it. I mean, we were talking about a pre-show, like limiting the number of devices you can buy per household, or I don't even know, like you can't really limit the resellers in any way. That's never going to happen. Because if it did, there's ramifications to that I don't think most people would be okay with. So, I don't know, man. It's an interesting conundrum. So I hope we're done with this by this time next year. I mean, that seems crazy to say, but that kind of feels like where we're at right now, because Sony's literally saying like this supply issue is not going to be resolved until 2022 at the earliest, and that's nuts.
But the problem is the supply issue is kind of made up. It's the resellers. Yeah. I think there's enough supply for people who have the equity to buy these consoles, to buy them and get them. It's just people like we said off show. There are people with warehouses full of fucking PS5s, warehouses full of Xbox Series X's. They just it's a made up. There's not like the resources aren't there. It's just a made up thing. Like resellers are the issue, and companies won't do anything about it. So because they're still eating right now. But I feel like once it starts affecting their first party studios, then they'll have to sit down at the table with their retailers and say, "Listen, guys, we can just start selling directly from our site if you guys can't get this shit under control. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be the only real solution I guess they could do. But that's the problem though, is like Sony and Microsoft definitely don't have robust enough supply chains to be the exclusive sellers of these devices, you know?
Yeah, we know it's
Like they
business to call somebody's bluff. So
Yeah. True. All right. Let's move on to our final story, Montreal. Sega has announced a new game called Lost Judgment, and it is a sequel to a game called Judgment, which is a 2019 action thriller. Uh, I don't know much about this. It's going to be a detective game, it looks like, but you were saying pre-show that it is going to be sort of like the Yakuza games, like the action-based Yakuza games.
yeah, so it's the same team that made the Yakuza games, or a part of that team rather, and it's a beat 'em up like Yakuza, but it's more refined. A lot of the old Yakuza games are, uh, I'll say, they're really good, but they're kind of clunky. They're kind of stuck in that old PS2/PS3 beat 'em up phase, whereas
Mhm,
Judgment is a evolved version of the beat 'em ups and things of that nature. This is it's evolving it. And Yakuza actually is going to a different direction where it's turning itself into a Japanese RPG, a JRPG,
mm,
with
mhm,
Last Dragon. And Last Dragon actually did really fucking well overseas, in the West, where now Sega is like, hey, the next game that comes out, we're going through Atlas, and it's going to be day and date released all over the world same day. Like it's not going to come to Japan first and then localized later. Like they're going to do it the same time. That's how well that
mhm,
game's being well received. And
mm,
actually, Yakuza in general has been getting very popular in the West over the last 3 or 4 years, and that's just by
mhm,
word of mouth and everything of that nature. Like I just got into Yakuza series like maybe a year and a half ago. But those games have been out for a while. So it's good to see that Judgment is getting his just desserts, and Yakuza is getting his just desserts. Because both of those games are really good. I recommend it. It's a story. I can't really say like it's a funny stories. There are funny moments in the story. The story is actually like a soap opera kind of serious,
mhm,
but like it makes fun of itself too. It knows it's a video game, so it's like it's
mhm.
just really cool. It's very Japanese, and if you like that type of storytelling, then I recommend it to anybody.
Cool, cool. It is going to be coming out on September 24th is the release date. So it's coming on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. So look forward to that if that sounds intriguing to you. All right, Montreal. Well, we're done with the news. So let's move on to our wonderful listener questions. And we've got two more questions from Dat Dude this week. The rest of you, I know there's more than two people listening to the show. You're letting this guy do the heavy lifting
Yeah,
right now.
do the
Okay.
rigmarole right now before we get into the questions.
Okay. What do you mean? The end of the show?
Yeah, because some people leave during the questions. So I
Man, are you kidding me? Come on, these questions are fantastic.
okay,
You
okay,
can't leave in
okay,
the show.
okay.
Look, if you want to leave, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But this is going to be a part of the show, guys. So get used to that. All
That
right.
was very Italian of you. If you want to leave, the door's right there.
You want to leave? Get out of here. Hey, don't let Tony hit you on the way out. All right. That dude's first question, Montreal. What, in your opinion, makes for good DLC?
So I already had an example of good DLC, and we're going to experience it tomorrow. Mass Effect. That's what makes. That's
Mm,
my opinion of a quality DLC.
mm-hmm,
Also Fallout 3 in New Vegas, very
mm,
good quality DLC. Really add a huge chunk
mm-hmm.
of the game.
Yep.
Um, like almost like I think one of the DLCs for Fallout added like 10 hours of gameplay or something like that. Like
Yep.
it's
Yep.
just it adds to the story and everything of that nature, and I like DLC like that. It's been a while since I remember a game actually doing that. Um, or even like Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade, how
Mm-hmm.
they added that DLC after the whole
Torna.
yeah
Yep.
Torna, and that was like what, maybe 20 hours, 30 hours of gameplay added onto
Like
that.
I said, yeah, no, it was like I think it was 50 or 60 hours all told if you wanted to like do
Jesus
everything.
Christ.
And it was so big that they released it as a standalone. Like
Yeah.
it had its own box at Target. That's how big it was.
So that's good DLC to me. I am
Yeah,
still not
yeah.
a fan of skins, and I'm
Mm,
still old school. I like to unlock stuff like that. Like I think that's really
mm,
cool. But
yeah.
um yeah, that's what I think good DLC is.
Yeah, so my answer is similar to Montreal. I will mention one game. Borderlands 2 had an excellent
Oh yeah,
DLC
yeah.
set of DLC, like a DLC package. They had the $30 season pass, which had the 4 campaigns in it. And those campaigns were besides the third one, I think were all pretty substantial in there. And I mean, even the third one was a substantial amount of content. It just wasn't great. But overall, though, like that package, that $30 package, I feel like it was like 40 to 50 hours of content at least, in that game. So it's bang for your buck, really. It really depends. Like if you're gonna charge me $20 for a DLC, there better be meat on that bone, like
Yeah.
I better not be done with it in an hour, like that's not good. So there is an equation of time to cost there that is important. I know that kind of value proposition is overblown with games themselves, like $60 and $70 games. But when you're talking about DLC, I feel like that is a different conversation. I've already bought your game and you want me to spend additional money.
Yeah.
There better be value there in terms of time investment. Like I don't know. Like it just, if you're gonna get me to come back or buy it in the first place before I've even played your game, like it needs to be worth it in my opinion. So I think Borderlands 2 is a really good example of that. I think even though like $5 DLCs, like Borderlands had like a character that was $5, Krieg.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like a $5 DLC, but he was like a whole new class, and he had his own ability trees and everything, and that's
That's
kind of
worth
worth it
it.
to me
Yeah,
too.
that's worth
Yeah,
it.
right. That's a huge amount of time. Like when you play him, I mean, you're getting hours and hours and hours of play time. Even though you're playing the same content with him, it's a different play experience, because he plays differently from the other characters. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in DLC. I'm with Montreal. I don't really like skin DLCs. I hate Monster Hunter for doing that because there's a ton of that shit. Now, I will say to Monster Hunter's credit, they're not locking all the cosmetics behind that paywall, but there's a good amount of it, which
And
a
I guess
lot of those that they're selling used to be unlocks in the older
yeah.
Monster Hunter games.
Yep. And I guess DLC can constitute as free DLC. So like Monster Hunter is a good
Mm.
example of that, how it releases free DLC. Like well, in the older games or the older mobile games, or not mobile games, but like the Switch
Handheld.
game, the handheld games, you got different missions, different monsters that come out. How they're doing Rise now, they would do that. But once again, like we said, it was a fuller game. Um, but like Iceborne, for example, that's a good quality DLC. That was damn near a
Mm.
fucking new game. So
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
even the
I mean, it was. It
but
wasn't.
even Iceborne got like title updates and stuff like that. So I guess that
Right.
qualifies as DLC as well, and I appreciate those. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example of bad DLC.
I can
I
tell you
mean,
straight off the bat, fucking Star Wars Battlefront 2 season
okay.
passes. I don't like multiplayer games have really bad season, like that has season passes. I don't really like the map pack. I actually like how they're doing multiplayer games now. Like Apex is releasing new maps or whatever for
Mm.
free and things of that nature.
Yeah, the battle
Fortnite,
pass.
yeah. But like I don't know, like the older games like Call of Duty, I hate the way they do DLC. I fucking hate it. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
pay $40 for a map pack
I agree.
that has 4
Yeah.
maps in it and that don't add
They've been
anything.
pulling the wool over people's eyes with that one for literally almost
Yeah.
2 decades now. Like, come on, man.
Like
That shit's
even
crazy.
Halo went away from that model. Halo 5 doesn't have
Yeah.
map
Right.
packs. They just release one map, every couple of months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to have it. So I mean,
Yeah, well, I think Battle Pass is right. Like they're I mean they're DLC, right?
yeah.
Ultimately, I think they're right on that line of what we're talking about of like what's good and what's bad. In my opinion, I buy them. I do buy them in Apex, but
But you have to
I
put your
like.
time into it, right?
But yeah, it gives you a little bit. extra for your investment in playing the game.
Yeah.
And Apex is nice because you don't have to buy the battle pass to earn levels. So you can wait until the end of the season and see how far you got. If you got far enough, you can buy the battle pass if you want. You can also fund your battle pass in Apex with previous battle passes because they give you premium currency in it. So that's another nice thing. Fortnite kind of started that thing. But so to me, I do think battle passes are also good DLC too. They're like the most acceptable form of map packs and season passes in multiplayer games
Yeah.
that we've gotten, and loot, like, it got rid of the loot boxes for the most part, that kind of trend died because battle passes kind of replaced it, as an acceptable thing. So there's many forms of acceptable DLC. I mean, to be honest, I wish we didn't have to have this conversation. I kind of wish we didn't deal with DLC at all. I prefer the days of the old days when there wasn't DLC. We didn't have any post-release content or anything like that.
Or if you did, right, it was like it was like Brood War.
Yeah, exactly. It was like an expansion pack. It was something big. So I don't know. I overall, I'd say there really isn't good DLC, but if we're gonna have the conversation, those are the things I would name. So, okay. Second question from Dat Dude: what are your top 3 game developers? Name a couple noteworthy games from them. Montreal, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. My 3. So one of mine's, you all know, it's Monolith Soft, of course. Makers of Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They're one of Nintendo's. They are Nintendo's best developer. Frankly, I think this company is probably one of the best developers on the planet.
They don't miss.
That they really don't miss. I don't remember a bad game they've ever made. Like, they made Bait and Katos back in the day as well. You want me to mention some games? Bait and Katos Origins on the GameCube. They're cult classics. There is a desperate fan base of this series that wants it to come back. And we got teased. What was it, last week, Montrell?
Yeah, with the trademark.
Bandai fucking trademarked Bait and Katos or some shit. So, it's... I didn't think about licensing. I guess does Bandai technically own the IP for Bait and Katos?
I hope
they
not.
must if they filed the trademark,
God.
Right?
I hope they're just doing a remaster. I hope they're not making a Bait and Katos.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I want is a remake or a re-release or something. Put it on a device that isn't 20 years old.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Monolith Soft, they're number 1. Persona Team, they're my second one. I mean, you want to talk about a developer that doesn't miss? Persona Team don't miss, dude. Like, Persona 5, fucking incredible. Catherine, fucking incredible. Persona 4, incredible. People, I've not played it, but people say Persona 3, absolutely excellent. And I mean, at this point, we're 15 years back in the catalog of Persona Team games. So they don't make a lot of games, but that's why their games are so good, because they take the time to make them right, and they make the they do that old school type of development style where they make the full game and they don't really release DLC. I know the Royal and the golden version and shit, but having played Royal, it really isn't necessary. Like, if you had just played Persona 5, you're not missing a ton with Royal, in my opinion.
Okay, and they also made the Shin Megami Tensei games.
Tensei, okay, yeah, which those have largely been on Nintendo devices.
Yeah,
but
I heard from what a lot of people say, those don't miss either. So
yeah, I've never played one, but yeah, people have high praise for them. So yeah, Persona Team. The third one, I didn't tell Montreal this one pre-show, but this one's probably going to be a surprise to some people. Respawn Entertainment. Okay.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, they are right now. They have significantly jumped up in my personal developer rankings. Apex Legends is a fucking excellent multiplayer game. Well-oiled machine at this point. They're releasing content on a very consistent basis. It is constant enough where it's not losing attention, and the game, it plays amazingly. Like, the control and everything like that is awesome. Star Wars, Fallen Order, excellent game. Like, it wasn't the best game we've ever played, but
It was
I
still
still
it was still a good game. It was still a
it was a really good
really
game,
good
and I
game.
look back fondly on it. And I'm looking forward to this sequel. And then Titanfall 2, I never played it, but I want to because everyone says that this game is excellent. So these guys right now, they also don't miss, like Respawn's kind of the top of the heap right now for modern day developers. So Montrell, what are your three?
So my three are Insomniac.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they make the Ratchet and Clank games that I
Yep.
fucking love,
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man Remastered. I actually recently played those games, and I fell in love with them. I understood why people loved them in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'm a huge fanboy for Ratchet and Clank, like I just said, and then Sunset Overdrive, which is like a one-off they did on
Mm-hmm.
Xbox. I think was
Mm-hmm.
what that laid the groundwork for Spider-Man. Is a phenomenal fucking game, and I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people should play it. My second one here is Platinum Games. I'm a huge
Mm-hmm.
fucking fanboy of
Okay.
character action games. Bayonetta
Mm-hmm.
1, Bayonetta 2, didn't miss. Metal Gear Vengeance, didn't miss.
Near Automata.
Near Automata, didn't miss. Uh, I think it's called Mad World Infinity, didn't miss. Anarchy Reigns, didn't miss. Uh, they they just had and Astral Chain didn't miss. So it's like
Mm.
they only game that missed for me was Wonderful 101. I didn't really like that style. That didn't match my style, but from what everyone I heard played it, they loved it. But yeah, they
Mm.
just they don't fucking miss. As far as
Mm-hmm.
action games, they know what they're doing and they know how to do it. So my last game or last one is old BioWare. Before Andromeda, they didn't miss. Let's be honest, y'all. Like, or okay, Dragon Age 2, they did. They missed with that one, right? They did miss with that
Mm.
one.
Mm.
But Dragon Age 1, phenomenal. Uh Obviously the Mass Effect games, Jade Empire, fucking Couture 1 and 2. Like these guys,
Dragon Age 1.
Dragon
Mm-hmm.
Age 1, yeah, these guys know what they're doing. They knew what they were doing with RPGs. That's why I said old. I had to put that in
Mm-hmm.
parentheses.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, it's a time period on this one, right?
yeah, so I just think I'm hoping they can reach that level again with this new team, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not holding my breath.
Good picks, man. Insomniac was almost on my list too. I'm not as well versed with Ratchet and Clank right now, so I wasn't confident in putting them on there yet. I'm looking forward to playing this new one actually. So we'll see on that one. But yeah, the BioWare. I mean, old BioWare is classic.
Yeah.
they are. They're a classic developer. So okay, one more question from Nerdy Sage. Question: if you could make a game using an existing IP from any medium, what IP and genre of game would you develop? My game would be a 3-part BioWare RPG set in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. That's an
That's
interesting.
such a really good. That's so
It's an
good.
interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they made Jane Empire,
Montreal.
man. That's why.
Yeah. True. Okay, Montreal. What? I think we both have 2, right?
I have 3 actually, but yeah.
Oh, you have 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You want to do one first?
Okay. My first one is I would have Platinum Games make Force Unleashed 3.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an action game. I feel like it
Mhm.
will fit their style of just like wacky, zany action, and they'll
Man,
put
what
their
would
whole.
that look like in this day and age?
I don't. I'm just imagining like Bayonetta, but like with Force Unleashed.
I'm just thinking like how insane they could get with
I
it,
know
right?
it would be
Like
fucking crazy, right?
the shit they could do with that kind of premise now. Because that game had some pretty nice powers. I never played either of them, but I've seen gameplay, and yeah, Star Killer was pretty nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like an American. That was the Lucas Arts, and they went
Yeah.
balls to the wall with it. I can only imagine what like Platinum Games would do with it. So that's my
Mhm.
first one. So you can go.
Okay. Okay, so my first one, don't roll your eyes, Montreal, but Kingdom Hearts
Oh God.
tactical strategy RPG. Now,
Okay, wait. I can see that.
yeah, think about it, right? Kingdom Hearts has become a very much an ensemble series at this point, right? How many characters are in this fucking series? Like main characters, whether they be enemies or good guys. And then think about all the enemy types we fought. Nobody's heartless. How many different types of them? I actually think a strategy RPG kind of. I don't like this is overused, but Final Fantasy Tactics, not in terms of the way the game plays, but in terms of the size of the battles. The battles in Final Fantasy Tactics are very small in scope. They're usually only 5 units on each side, usually. At most, maybe 12 or 13 total between both people fighting. I think you could do the same thing with a Kingdom Hearts game. And the game series kind of already has a little bit of a class system implied in it with mages, your kind of tankish like shield users, and then your sword using keyblade wielders.
No, I actually think that's a really great. I can see it almost in I was thinking about a different setting, like we can see the Keyblade Wars, and that would be it.
That's one of the time periods I was thinking of for this exact game. Is you're not necessarily doing it with Sora and company.
Yeah,
you could go back in time to that Union Cross period when you had a bunch of Keyblade wielders who were like learning how to be Keyblade wielders or whatever, and having them go on missions and stuff. Like there's a concept there that would work for a game.
I would actually love to see that. So that's really good.
I would fucking dude. Day one done.
Yeah, that
you got me. Drop everything. I'm playing it, bitch. Kind of game for me. So, all right, Montrell, what's your second one?
So my second one is from Software, Custom Robo 2 or 3.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people doesn't know, but From Software used to make mecha games. They used to make the Armored Core games. I would like for them to go back and maybe they're not going to do it now, but if they were to, I would like them to make a custom Robo game. So how they put their spin on it.
Man, that would be interesting, huh? Yeah.
Keeping their original custom Robo feel, but putting their spin on it because they know how to make Robo games or mecha games.
I'm not even just thinking about that, dude. Forget about the gameplay. What would they do with the universe of custom Robo?
Oh, they can make. I don't. They can actually.
Because remember the GameCube one? How weird it was and kind of hardcore. Yeah, it was kind of dark, man. So I feel like From would run with that, dude. Yeah, that's interesting. No, that would be. I mean, fuck anybody making a custom Robo game. I don't really care at this point who it is, but From would be fun. That would be a fun collab for sure. Okay, my last one is kind of, I guess, 2 games in one. So Game of Thrones.
Okay.
As either an RTS or a Total War style game.
Okay, that's nice.
And I say this as somebody who theoretically is obsessed with Total War, but never ever plays a Total War game. I love the concept of Total War games, but I can never get into them ever. I've played a few and they just don't click with me, even though I love them as an idea.
I'm actually surprised this has not happened yet.
I am too. I think they haven't had the conversation because they're doing Warhammer and they've been doing that for years now. I think they have a lot on their plate, so maybe they're not.
Oh man, you can use the houses
bandwidth. But dude, yeah, no. Game of Thrones is as a Total War game. Just it's like a perfect fit. If there's no it would be incredible.
What if we got Blizzard to make a real RTS
in Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Current Blizzard?
Okay,
I don't think so.
Old Blizzard.
But yeah, let's talk early 2000s, early to mid 2000s Blizzard. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that'd be a dope game. So either of those, I think Game of Thrones would be ripe for that. I know we've had weird games with Game of Thrones, fucking Telltale fucking games, but no. Let's go where it belongs. Strategy, okay? That is Game of Thrones at its core.
Yeah, I guess there wasn't a huge war beforehand.
Yes. There's plenty of wars.
Yeah, so oh man.
But yeah, there was a war. There was the rebellion, Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah,
that happened. So,
man,
that could be the time period you pick for the game. You're Robert, and you need to take over the entirety of Westeros.
That would be
And
fucking.
you can have intrigue in there. You can have political intrigue where you can like form alliances, backstab people. You can make it a little bit more interesting than just a straight total
Yeah,
war
they
game.
have
You
some
know?
kind of morale system where the army can turn on you mid fight. Oh, that'd
Yep.
be so fucking dope.
Right, dude. It'd be cool, wouldn't it? You've got the fucking the White Walkers in the north. That you might have to like send soldiers to defend against or something. You could play around with that. So.
All right, so my last one is kind of obscure.
Mhm.
The Ace Combat team. I don't know if you guys
Okay.
play the Ace Combat team, but
Mm-hmm.
in Star Fox, just let them.
Oh, okay.
just, just let them fucking have
Oh,
it. Just let them do it.
oh, okay, man, Nintendo.
Because
Yeah,
the
let
Ace
them do it,
Combat
man.
games, right? They can go simulator, but they also
Yeah,
have like a kind of an arcade feel to them. So where it's not,
arcadey. Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's a mix of good of both, and they also have like a good storyline in Ace Combat games. And just make Star Fox. Just do that. It will be on a smaller scope, so you don't have to worry about as many planes. Because they
Mm-hmm.
actually use actual military licenses when they make their planes on Ace Combat,
Mm-hmm.
but you have a smaller
Yeah.
scope, so you can actually just go crazy with it because you have made up stuff and you can
Mm-hmm.
send you can send it. So another thing I was thinking of too is I was thinking actually of having intelligence systems take Star Fox and just do a fucking a strategy game with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could
I
see
really
that.
like Ace Commanders. That or Star. I said Ace Commanders.
Star Fox Command.
Star Fox
Yeah.
Command that was on the DS, and I really
Yep.
would like to see that on a larger scale on the Switch or something like that. Whereas when
Mm.
you battle, you would go into like regular Star Fox mode where you encounter them on the map, but the map was still like it can be like a Fire Emblem style, where you
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
pieces and things of that nature, but not just have
Yeah.
it to where it's just for them. Like you're control of a whole armada, pretty much. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get away from the Fox, mercenary company and like actually get into the armies that
yeah,
are fighting the war. That would be really cool. Actually, you start like controlling like the armada ships and the bigger command ships and stuff.
yeah. Or I had like because I have like a couple plot points with this one. So Star Fox and Dice, uh, they can
Mm-hmm.
turn it into a fucking war game, like an actual battlefield war game.
Mm.
I feel like Star Fox has that potential.
Mm-hmm.
Not only with
They did toy with that with Star Fox Assault, right?
yeah, they did, but I don't feel like they did a good job with it.
No, that was the game controlled like complete ass
Yeah,
on the ground at least.
yeah, and they can have it to where they can just make Star Fox a multiplayer game to where it can be Nintendo's multiplayer game, their answer to Battlefield, where they can use the Star Fox universe. 'Cause I think the Star Fox universe has potential to be like a
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars type esque game, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
different factions and armies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They just
I agree
never
with you.
really ventured into
They don't
that, you know?
they don't play around with it. They've never the most creative they've ever gotten with Star Fox was Star Fox Command,
Yep.
and they've really not dabbled in that any kind of any other realm really. And they've done I don't know they've done Star Fox dirty. I mean, okay, there's Star Fox Adventures or whatever the fuck it was called on the GameCube, which was okay. That game was decent, but there was that game, and then Star Fox. What was it? Zero or whatever, the one that was on the Wii U, that was a complete and utter absolute disaster.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they've relegated it to like fucking motion control bullshit before, so they've never really done Star Fox right in a long time, and it sucks because it's a great IP, and I feel like Nintendo just doesn't know what to do with it, a
Yeah.
lot of the time. So listen to Montreal, Nintendo. Listen to Montreal. Okay. I actually have one more too that I thought of pre-show. I didn't bring it up because I don't. I feel like this one would get a lot of. I don't know.
Just say
So
it.
I was thinking about Breaking Bad. Okay,
Okay.
stick with me here. Breaking Bad as like a Telltale style game where you make decisions and fucked up shit happens.
I
And you
mean,
could be Walt, you can be Walt, or you could be Jesse, maybe.
I mean, it will work.
I think it would work.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
will work.
I think it would be funny. I don't. I mean, obviously, the writing would probably have to be good, which is the problem. I don't know if anyone can make this game. That's kind of the issue. But maybe if Gilligan was involved, Vince Gilligan was involved, then maybe it would be good. But
yeah, he would have.
Let's talk about this game in its best form.
He would have to be involved, though. He would have to. I think his writing is key to like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the only reason the whole series works, frankly.
Yeah,
is the way it's written. So yeah, that it's another one. So Sage, I love this question. This is like we could do this all day. I do this kind of shit all the fucking time. I just think about IPs and I was like, oh yeah, a JRPG in this universe would be really fucking cool, like. So, I do that all the time. So I have plenty of these ideas. And it sounds like Montrell does too. He had like 5 of them, you're just throwing them out there, man.
Yeah. I just really see the potential of Star Fox that Nintendo doesn't. I don't
how limited are we as like a human species, right? That none of these things are possible. Like we talking about these things and most of them are completely ridiculous. Like they're never going to happen,
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand the idea of copyright and the need for it, but at the same time, it's just like fuck it, man. If I want to make a Kingdom Hearts SRPG, let me do it. Fuck it. We all benefit.
I didn't even think about that. Like just playing a Kingdom Hearts SRPG, seeing how the fucking Keyblade Wars really were, how brutal it can be. Like, make that shit dark as fuck. Like, yeah, make it brutal. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Hell, get intelligent systems to do it because they turn fucking. I think Fire Emblem 3 Houses was fucking dark as shit. Like compared to other Fire Emblems.
No, it's that game surprised me and how deep they went with it. I mean, it was highly political and also like it really kind of challenged, because Edelgard's not really a good person.
Yep.
But she is kind of a fan favorite. It's interesting, like. She is like a autocratic, well, not autocratic, I guess, more like almost like fascist in the sense that she's just conquering people without really talking. She's just saying like, "Fuck it, you can't rule yourself. I'm gonna rule and unite us all. I'm gonna conquer your ass." Like that. That's kind of what she does, and it's interesting. So,
well, then what was the other guy who lost his eye? Who just I still haven't played through this campaign, but I really
Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Yeah, I know.
I want to know why.
Dude, we got to do it, man. We're gonna get spoiled someday, and it's gonna ruin it for us because I keep seeing him like he's a really popular character, and man,
he went batshit crazy, like batshit crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I got to get back to that game. Because, I randomly, remember like a few months ago, I randomly just played through like 2 maps in the Golden Deer route. I haven't played the game since. I just did that like one night. I just like turned on 3 houses and just like played through 2 missions. And, that was it. You know what it was? I think I remember what it was. Is that I was on the battle phase for 1 chapter, and then the next chapter immediately started after that. There was no monastery phase. So I beat that mission, and then I got to the monastery phase after the second mission, and I was just like, Yeah,
you didn't feel like doing the school part. Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'll get back to it at some point. I think I was like literally 2 battles away from finishing Golden Deer, though. So, which is silly. But all right, well, those were great questions. Thank you for submitting them, guys. We really appreciate it. If you guys like those questions and you want to send your own, oh my gosh, send your own to us. You can do so at theplayerstake01@gmail.com or at theplayerstake on Twitter. And that is it for this episode, guys. If you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends so we can get more wonderful people to interact with and talk to and just get this conversation going with us. But if you would like to talk to us, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That's the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show, as I said, is at The Player's Take. And that's it for us, guys. We will be back next week. We hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.